So President Trump has recently told all countries that you need to come forth and give us your best trade offers. And he's made that announcement because, as most of us know and have realized recently, that that 90-day pause in reciprocal tariffs is actually coming due the first week of July. Here we are, June the 11th, and we're maybe 3 weeks or so away from the deadline where the president may, and as I say, may put back on these reciprocal tariffs. And so, is this a warning by the president, or is this the president making one last, call to different countries to get a deal done? In my opinion, I think the president needs to get these deals done. I don't believe that he can go back and put these tariffs, at least at the levels that he once stated them at, which was, I believe, back on April 2nd. He came forth and announced a whole bunch of tariffs, very high levels of tariffs on many countries. To me, the president always talks about, doing a trade deal, but if the trade deal doesn't get done, President Trump says, well, we'll just go back and put back the tariffs. I just don't think it's as easy as that. I think there's a lot of pressure on the president to get deals done. And obviously, the China deal that they've just negotiated, we're hearing some of the details coming out just this morning, but I would say the first details aren't so good. It's kind of a mini deal, if you will, just the U.S. trying to get hold and and secure some rare earth elements. But we're not hearing really much of what the U.S. has given up to secure this deal. So I guess in the coming hours or days, we'll hear more about that. But overall, in my opinion, I don't think that the president is negotiating necessarily from a position of strength. I think with many scares out there right now for the Trump administration to deal with, such as perhaps if tariffs or trade deals are negotiated, will we see higher pricing in the U.S.? We're keep waiting for higher pricing to show up in the U.S. We're hearing businesses like Walmart, Amazon, automobile companies, many other businesses, whether it's toys or anything else for that matter, services, goods. We're hearing that prices are going to go up. So does the Trump administration want to see higher levels of inflation, prices going up? I don't think so. And does the president want to see empty shelves in general when it comes to the back to school season or the holiday season, whether it's Halloween or Christmas or Thanksgiving? I don't think so either. We're hearing about challenges in the courts to these to the tariffs in general that are being proposed or levied on countries. Right now, the courts are saying that the president has the leeway to have these tariffs put on these countries, but that could disappear as well. And what about Republicans in general? They're having a difficult time passing their tax bill in the Senate right now. A lot of things not going the president's way, but you keep hearing from President Trump that everything is great, that everything is fantastic, even though his approval rating is quite low and one of the lowest we've seen from presidents after 100 days in modern history. So a lot of things going against the president. I think he's asking for country's best foot forward because he really wants to make some deals. And let's go to our first illustration here. This, if you recall, anybody who was watching President Trump's, announcement on April 2nd, he pulled out this, a chart that he actually held in his hand. And this was actually the chart he held out. And you could see all the crazy amounts or the crazy levels of tariffs. Vietnam, 46%, European Union, 20%, Thailand, 36%. Just picking out some of them, Pakistan, 29%, right across the globe, all the different tariffs that were announced on April 2nd, which obviously has since gone into hibernation, if you will, or definitely a pause for 90 days until, I guess, first week of July, which is when that pause will expire. The president calls for trade deals, trade negotiations, but trade deals take a lot of time to make. Our next chart just shows you how long it can take or how long it normally takes to make a trade deal. Perhaps the president wants to get, I guess, the framework for a deal, maybe the foundation of a deal. But I would think trade deals are going to take a lot longer than the next few weeks to get done for certain countries. And you can see here, current timeline to make trade deals. He's giving a 90-day timeline as of April 2nd, but you can see the US, Canada, Mexico agreement, how long that took, how many days that took, a lot longer than 90 days. Typical time frame is usually about 917 days to have one of these trade deals done. You can see where the 1,000-day mark is on the far right. The US-Panama Trade Promotion Agreement in 2011, you can see how long that took. So trade deals, getting them done, I think he announced 90 deals in 90 days. I think to me, always sounded a bit I was a bit skeptical that he could get it done, that his administration could get it done. They seem to think they can get it done, but I'm just not so sure. And overall, it just leaves individuals, Americans, and really Canadians, all of us, skeptical as to what is going on and what can actually get done. And the skepticism is actually playing out quite a bit in the president's approval rating. Our next chart here shows President Trump's approval or disapproval polling results. You can see here, depending on which poll you look at, whether it's CBS News, 55% disapproval rating. I guess the highest approval rating is Marquette Law School, 46%, still not even 50%. The lowest comes in at 40% on this chart. CNN, 41%. NBC News, 45%. So you can see clearly that his approval rating is anywhere between 40 to 45, 46%, whereas his disapproval rating tends to run anywhere between 55 and 60%. That is something definitely I'm sure that the president is not so happy about. But again, it all comes down to trade deals. And if trade deals can be made, can be announced, at least the framework of trade deals. And, I think trade deals, at least for the U.S.'s major trading partners, will be most important. Canada, Mexico, China, UK, maybe even throw in Japan if you like. I think those are the main countries that the U.S. is looking at making a trade deal. But the market thinks, at least for now, that trade deals are going to happen, because our next chart clearly shows how well the market has done, the S&P 500. Look how the S&P 500 has performed since, let's call it, the first week of April. It is up significantly, wiping out all the losses for the year on the S&P. TSX is actually in positive territory. The S&P is in slightly positive territory. NASDAQ has come back. All the major U.S. indices, as well as the Toronto Stock Exchange, come back and now showing slightly positive to nicely positive returns. I think the TSX is up somewhere around 6% for the year. So far, you can see here how well the S&P 500 has done. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, this bond market too has been telling a bit of a story. We can show the 10-year Treasury here, and you can see gradually that the 10-year Treasury has moved towards that 4.5% level. We've seen it as high as 4.6%. The 30-year has actually gone above 5%. And that's a bit of a negative, right? When debt levels, or the expectation that debt levels are going to rise due to a tax bill being, I guess, approved by the Senate, already been approved by the House, but once it is approved by the Senate and signed by the president, we know debt levels are going up in the U.S. Bond market does not like that. And when the bond market or bond yields rise, you know that the stock market tends to fall. So we're also keeping an eye on 10-year treasuries. So overall, the president of the United States right now, President Trump, wants the best trade offers he can receive, because I believe he is under the gun to make deals. He may not say that. He may not act like that's the case. We know that the president is a great negotiator, and if he were to show weakness, definitely that would not be good for negotiating. So for now, we're going to assume that things are on pace to, or on track to come up with a bunch of trade deals. We've heard Howard Lutnick recently, part of the Trump administration, talk about how deals are going to be announced in the coming few weeks before the deadline. So just going to have to wait and see. And as I said, for now, the market is acting positive because it believes that trade deals are coming.